The power of flexibility is what I want to talk about today. There is power in flexibility. One of the things that 2020, if it didn't show us anything, it showed us the importance of flexibility, right? I mean, think about it. We started out 2020, it was already on the fringe, with the deaths, the different deaths and the fires and all that stuff. And then bam comes the pandemic. We had to move our offices to our homes, right? All of a sudden, our home actually became not just a home, but it was also a workplace. It was a school. It was a restaurant. And for a few minutes, it was even a gym for those that felt that they had to do something active. I think Peloton sales went up astronomically, right? So, I mean, talk about flexibility, right? Getting used to online meetings. I mean, how many times had you had to get used to you're on mute, oh, you're on mute, I'm on mute, right? Like, do I have the right clothes on? Making sure you have the right things above the waist, right? Because that's all that's being seen. The idea of flexibility. I had to be flexible. I had to learn some things, right? This was the pandemic where we actually learned about online grocery shopping. Like you actually shop online and you get your food delivered to you, right? And to be honest with you, I really very rarely did takeout from a restaurant. And now, that's what we do. It's like, so flexibility, right? What does that look like? And so one of the things that I've realized is that we have to recognize that flexibility is extremely important. Think about the power of flexibility in that when I'm being flexible, I can't break, right? Think about that. Flexi straws, the flexible straws where you bend them down and they can actually bend down. You try to do that same thing with a regular straw. What happens? It tends to break, right? And so there's power in flexibility. I didn't really appreciate flexibility until my time on the Biggest Loser Ranch. As we started getting a little smaller, we started doing what I like to call little people things, right? And one of those things was, drinking diet sodas. That's what little people did, because as a big person, I didn't care about fat-free, sugar-free. I was going to go for the real stuff. But, all of a sudden I'm starting to think about, Coke Zero and stuff like that. But then the other thing was learning about yoga. And, I was a little too big to do yoga, all that downward dog. And, we had our friends, the Bumbries, on a couple of months ago, and they talked about yoga and that sort of thing. But I really started appreciating how yoga worked, because yoga was an opportunity for me to actually really start working on being flexible and being more flexible in my body. I noticed, believe it or not, that my mind started being more flexible. Like, I actually started being more open to other things. And so one of the things I want to encourage you all is, as you are proceeding forward in your respective lives, is really look for opportunities to be flexible. And one of the best ways to think about, how can I be so flexible, is to look at what the word yoga means. Yoga in itself means what it means, but I'm going to give you some things that Dr. Mike's going to give you when it comes to yoga. First of all, is remember that in power flexibility, the first thing you want to make sure you're paying attention to is you have to yield to whatever the moment presents, right? You got to yield to it. I remember my mom and I, we were having a conversation about the vaccines. And, as all of us, we've heard about the good and the bad of the vaccines, like depending on which one you take, are you going to get side effects? There's some people who are like, they don't get side effects. Some people did, how they feel about it. And my mom and I were talking about how she was like, really just trying to prepare for whatever it was going to be. And my dad said something to her. He said, just go with it. Like, just go with it. Like, it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Just go with it. Like, it's not going to kill you. It's just, it may be a little inconvenient for the moment, but just go with it, right? And I think about that, like, all right, so if I'm yielding to the moment, right? For instance, if I'm in a situation where I'm not necessarily feeling the best and I can't really leave the house, okay, great. You can't leave the house. What can you yield to it? Maybe this is an opportunity for you to catch up on some TV. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to catch up on some chores. Maybe this is an opportunity just to sit and be, right? Yield to whatever the moment gives you, right? Whatever it is, just go with it. Go with that flow. Because a lot of times what happens in our lives is we spend so much time resisting things and putting all this energy up to fight something. And after a while, the force of it tends to wear us down, right? I think about if you look about the idea of raging rivers, right? And how if you dam up a river, eventually the force of it will carve out a new path for the river because it's been yielded to a new direction. So maybe there's some things happening in your career, right? And things aren't working out in your career the way you would like them to work. Maybe the power of flexibility says, I need to yield to it. Like, all right, this is what's happening. Let me go with this flow and see where it takes me. And see the next thing, which is the fact that there's an opportunity there, right? So yoga, why? Yield. O, opportunity. We need to view the situation as the opportunity it truly is. I mean, think about that. It's an opportunity. Like, yes, it may not be the most ideal thing, but you know what? I'm going to make this thing work, right? You know, think about it. If restaurants were in a situation where they were just like, we're just going to hold out and wait for people to be able to be brought back into the restaurant, well, many of them are going to be out of business, right? So what was it that they had to do? They said, you know what? We have the situation where people are at home, they can't sit in the restaurant. So what we're going to do is we're going to ramp up our takeout game. And man, I'm going to tell you something. The takeout that I've experienced over the pandemic has been totally different than what it was in the past because they really didn't harp on that. That wasn't their major way of doing business. But now they're seeing as the opportunity that it is, right? There's an opportunity to advance things. There's a lot of churches that actually took care of some big pet projects that they were needing to get done as a result, you know, because they just were so busy doing service every Sunday that now here's an opportunity with nobody in there. But guess what? They're going to take advantage of these opportunities that present themselves. All right. So yielding, opportunity. Here's the G, growth. Look at it as an opportunity to move forward, have some kind of forward progress. By the way, just because you may be doing something that may appear to be a step back does not necessarily mean it's still not progressing you forward. Case in point, right after Biggest Loser, I was in a situation where, you know, before Biggest Loser, I was a professional speaker. I was actually a contract speaker. I was teaching at a couple of community colleges. Like, that was what my income was. And I found that after Biggest Loser, the situation changed to the point where I found myself in need of figuring out how we were going to make income for my family. And a mentor of mine actually said, you need to get a real job. And I took offense to that at first because I was like, wait a minute, I am doing a real job. I'm pursuing my dream. I'm pursuing my passion. I'm this, you know, the speaker, you know, just wait till after Biggest Loser airs. I'm going to be able to go all around the world and blah, 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 blah. But in the meantime, I had a family that still needed to be taken care of. And so with that being said, one of the things that I realized was, you know what? I went ahead and applied for a job. And at first I saw it as a step backwards. But guess what? Here we are at Headspace with Dr. Mike, right? I'm still pursuing my dream. I'm pursuing my passion. And it looks a little different than what I thought. But guess what? I wouldn't change it for the world, because the amount of growth that I experienced over these last several years is insurmountable. And to be honest with you, where I was 8 years ago is nowhere near where I am now. And I wasn't ready for even a platform like this because there were some experiences I still need to have. There was some knowledge I needed to have. Everybody understand that, guess what? Not everything is always a step back. Look at the potential for growth. Now, here's the last one. There's yielding, there's opportunity, there's growth. And the last one is this, alliances. Figure out ways that you can actually partner with other people or partner with different resources. If one thing that this pandemic has shown me is that, you know what? If you could show me that there is power in working together, right? We're better together than we are apart, and understanding the power of collaboration. There's some people that need the collaboration. It reinforces value of each other. It helps you build up your level of trust. It also promotes diversity of thought and opinion. So as you're thinking about some areas in your life where you may need a little more flexibility, I want you to remember that, guess what? We got to yield to the experience, look at every opportunity as what it is, make sure you pay attention to the growth, and last but not least, look forward to the opportunities for alliances. And with that, that's my heads up.